All right. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us again this week for our weekly mastermind session. So, this week I'm super excited to bring Matt Crinklaw on. So, Matt was one of the original people behind Greenius. And so, he's been with Greenius from day one. He was definitely on the founding team. And he has lots of great info to share about how to develop a great team, how to create a training system, and really get your people thinking like business owners instead of employees. And so one of the things that we like to talk about a lot is, how to really develop people and replace yourself as a leader and really create a team of people who are sort of like-minded, working toward building a great company together. And so a key tool in doing that is this 360 feedback tool. Greenius has a tremendously good way of doing that. We're going to talk about how Greenius does that as we go here, but we really want to talk about why this process is so important and why it makes sense to really provide your team with ongoing feedback so that they know where to focus their efforts in upskilling themselves and contributing to the company. So, Matt, why don't you jump in and lead the way? I'll try to stay as quiet as I can and give you the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Mark. So I want to start here. Everyone owns corporate culture, not just one department. So I like to tell our contractors, you can't pizza lunch your way out of a bad culture. So I wanted to talk about what culture is at its root. And culture is just employee experience. So how are your employees experiencing? And that starts from the second they apply to a job. So as soon as they read that job posting, it's like, okay, well, what's it going to be like to work at this company? And then when they go to the interview, they're judging what's it going to be like what's my experience going to be? And then they get hired, then they're onboarding. So everybody owns that culture piece and that employee experience part. So what I'm talking about today is how do we measure that and how do we do checkups on that? So first, we're going to talk about what's a 360 review program look like. So the term 360 reflects the idea of obtaining feedback from all directions, providing a comprehensive review. So we break that out into two parts here. So first, employee performance reviews. So we're going to talk about the employee's performance, how they're doing. And it's not an opportunity to be super critical and judge everyone. It's about talking about what's going well and what we can improve on and just kind of stop and have a conversation with them. And then we're going to allow the employees to rate us as managers and us as the company. So for example, my manager is fair to me, and that's going to allow us to identify key gaps in our culture and that experience that we really need to address. So why should I be doing performance reviews? So why should I be doing performance reviews? So a study by Deloitte found that continuous feedback in performance reviews led to a 14.9% improvement in employee performance. So in the landscaping industry, we only have so many days to get all of our contracts done, to get all of our work done. So every day has to count and be as efficient as possible. So having these regular check-ins with employees allows you to tell them what they're doing well and also where they can improve. So you can talk about mistakes they might be making, or they might not know something, so they might be afraid to ask a question. So having that one-on-one check-in time allows the employee to check in, learn maybe there's a better way to do things. And in speaking with one contractor, a well-trained plow operator can clear a parking lot 40% faster than a new plow operator. So the goal is, how do we get that new person to that efficiency as fast as possible? And performance reviews really help with that, with those check-ins, with those skills, and just that kind of feedback loop. And then the second one here, a Harvard Business Review article reported that companies that implemented regular feedback practices see an average of 8.9% increase in profitability. And where that really helps with our contractors is you're going to see less mistakes, less waste, less warranty callbacks, less equipment damage, and just overall an example here is on a new hire on a shoveling salting crew. They're going to use way too much material. So if you've never trained somebody on how to properly salt a sidewalk, they're going to use a lot more material than a well-executed training program. And that's where that feedback and those check-ins really help with that. And then lastly, employees are ranking consistent feedback as a major factor when choosing an employer. And I'm seeing this a lot. So I keep up to date with employment trends and surveys to make Greenius a better product. And in a lot of surveys, employees are ranking feedback and discussions with their managers like as important as salary. It's becoming this major feedback that employees want. So I do highly recommend, with or without Greenius, that you start these feedback programs because people want them, and they're measuring this as a key thing they want from their employers.
On that note, Matt, one thing that I think is really often overlooked is just the fact that employees know that you care when you take the time to just give them the feedback. And I think step one in continuous improvement is explaining to people what's wrong so that you can actually drive some improvements. And the way that you should go about doing it using performance reviews is you're giving them all kinds of feedback, good and bad at once. And so I think you're kind of delivering the good news with a little bit of bad news in the sense that, hey, you're doing great in these 4 areas, maybe not so great in these few, but you're actually looking at it as an opportunity for them to kind of level up and get to the next level in their career. So it doesn't come across as being negative. And I think that's the key thing with performance reviews. When you're telling somebody in the moment what they're doing wrong, it sort of comes across as being a bit negative. But when you step back and you're giving these reviews in a regular cadence, but in a way where you're actually telling them, hey, these are the 8 things you're doing really well, but here's the 2 things that I'd really like to work on with you in the future. It just becomes a lot more aspirational, a lot more exciting for the employee to hear about where they can improve as an opportunity, as opposed to, being a little bit negative in the moment. But I really see this as being the foundation of continuous improvement. It really changes everybody's perspective on taking feedback. It becomes one that's positive as opposed to negative.
Yeah, that's great. So when building a performance review, you want to discuss how well the employees has met or exceeded expectations in their core responsibilities. So what I recommend and what we do on Greenius is every piece of equipment that employee has been assigned to, we're going to base some key review points on that piece of equipment. And then at the end, we review some soft skills. So here's an example as truck and trailer. So if the employee is involved in the truck and trailer process, we're going to review their ability to secure and hook up that truck and trailer. We're going to review their are they doing their circle checks before and after the trailer connection? Are they doing their pre-trip inspections? Are they loading the trailer properly? Do they understand the weight of various equipments and how it affects a trailer and where it should be loaded? Are they securing the smaller machinery in the respective positions? So are they putting everything in the trailer mounts as they should? Or are they just throwing the blowers in the back of the truck? Like, what are they doing there? And then are they following the regulations governing transports? So I would create these for each topic or each piece of equipment that they're using and just provide these key metrics, because when the when the employee's performance can align with the company's objectives, that's where you start seeing some real results. So when that employee is performing and meeting their own goals, but those goals meet those companies' objectives, it's just this huge win. So by getting kind of micro into this level of creating review points for each piece of equipment that they're using, it's that you're going to see the enhancements and the better performance and the better attitudes because you're doing these regular check-ins. So completing a performance review. So I've been coaching our contractors, like you think of the traditional performance review where you have that one sentence and then you got to write a paragraph, then another sentence, you write a paragraph. And by the time you finish, you've written a 4 or 5 page novel about the employee. And it takes a lot of time, and no one does performance reviews because they just don't have the time to do that. So what I recommend is kind of create a grading system or a slider system where you can just score those points on a 1 to 10 scale and give them an average. So now you can do your performance review in minutes versus hours. So each of those points can demonstrate a proper and secure trailer hookup. So I'm going to rank them between needs training to best in class. And I'm going to rank them. That orange dot is what they got on their last review. The purple dot is the company average. So now I can score them based on the employee's performance versus the company average. And whether you're doing this on our app or on a paper version, just track those two metrics and make them easy to access, their last review and the company average. And that way you can quickly score them. And the review should be fair, objective, focused on development. And like I said, I don't want it to turn into a big critical section. Here's a laundry list of everything you're doing wrong. It is about development. So you should be talking about what they're doing well and what they are doing wrong. Just make sure you frame the feedback as constructive. So here's where you can improve. Here's how you improve. And I wanted to focus on this one here. 100% positive feedback all the time it's not a good thing. So in the interest of time, if your crew leaders doing these reviews are just 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 done, 10, 10, 10 done, you can't have rain. You can't have rainbows without a little bit of rain. So not everyone should be getting a perfect score on everything because you can't develop when you don't know what you're doing wrong. So you got to get ahead of that feeling of you feel bad because you're not scoring them perfect on everything. Where it's not about that. It's about making them as best as they can for themselves. So you got to identify areas where they need to develop. And a successful performance review is a two-way conversation. So it's not just you telling the employee, it's asking questions, talking about it. What do you think about this score? Or where do you think you can improve? And just taking a moment and pausing and having that two-way conversation.
A big one there is asking them how you can help them improve. So when you're as a leader, when you're showing them where you want them to improve, I think it's more important on the two-way conversation to be asking them what you can do to help them improve. And I think often the information that comes back is pretty enlightening. It kind of tells you where to focus your efforts in training or maybe changing process or providing better tools and resources for them to get better. But the concept of a 360 is just that. You're sharing with them where you'd like them to improve, and ideally they're sharing with you how they think you could help. And I think that's where all the value becomes and where you really end up driving the continuous improvement that you're really looking for with a process like this.
Yeah, for sure. And that's actually a great lead into where I'm heading to the employee survey part just after this. And this is actually kind of part of that where you discuss the results. So be prepared to communicate the results and the action plan to the employees to maintain that transparency. And the key is the action plan here. So you want to talk about the results, but what are we doing to improve it? How am I supporting you? How can we move forward with this? And here's the skills I need you to learn. We're going to meet Monday to talk about the small walk behind because your lines aren't straight. You're a little bit slower than other crew members. So we'll work together and we'll figure that out together. So just having that action plan to put together to help the employee is giving them a sense of kind of belonging and culture and a good experience. And when I talk about that employee experience and its relationship to turnover, anything that's giving them a bad experience is going to increase the likelihood of turnover. So in everything you do and in every experience, every interaction, always be thinking about the employee's experience and trying to make it a constructive, a development, a positive experience. And hopefully you'll see a reduction in your turnover as well. So we're going to flip it to the second part of the 360 tool. So now I'm switching over to the role of the employee reviewing the company. So we just went through kind of the manager's perspective of reviewing the employee, but now I'm coming from the employee side of things. So why should I be doing employee surveys? So surveys provide a structured platform for the employees to share their opinions, concerns, and suggestions. So this open communication fosters that culture of transparency and trust. So you're just building that open line of communication that, hey, you can speak up, you can give us some feedback, you can give us ideas, and we're going to seriously consider them and listen to your voice. And regular surveys support a culture of that continuous improvement that we're trying to strive for. And surveys can gauge the employees' perceptions of leadership effectiveness. And this allows you to identify key kind of gaps in your management styles. So when your employees are ranking, hey, the managers are doing this really well, but they're really dropping off here, we can address those issues, and maybe our leadership needs some coaching, because especially at the crew leader level, we quite often end up promoting our best crew members to crew leaders, and they could be great at hammering out schedules, and they get all the work done Monday to Friday. They never work Saturdays. They're taskmasters, but they could be a bad people person. And that's the area where we need to coach on them, because if they have a new crew member that's not performing to the level they need, or they're making mistakes and they just get angry, they're frustrated with them, everyone's having a bad experience. That crew leader's frustrated, that employee's frustrated. So by identifying these gaps in the leadership, it's just going to help everyone's experience, and hopefully, again, reduce that overall turnover of the company. And then lastly, engaging employees in the survey process demonstrates that their opinions matter. So we want to hear from you. We appreciate the work you do. You're the foundation of our business. So we want to hear, what are you seeing out there? What's going well? What processes can we improve on? And hear their voice, because they're the ones executing the strategies that we're developing day in and day out. So their opinion really does carry some weight there. So building your employee surveys. So surveys help organizations identify areas of strength and weakness in their cultures. So you want to ask questions where the employee can kind of rate the company. So some examples we have here. I feel that my company and manager are dedicated to helping me succeed. I am satisfied with the job-related training skill development offered to me. I feel comfortable voicing any issues or concerns to my manager. So that's a great one there. So do they feel like they have an open communication with their manager, or is their manager unapproachable? And that's an area that we could coach a manager. Maybe they have a weekly check-in, a 15-minute one-on-one with each employee, or maybe they have talk time in the truck between job sites where they just check in with everyone. There's just lots of opportunities there to really coach on these issues. And then a few more here. I'm satisfied with the opportunities presented to me so I can apply my talents and expertise. My manager is fair-minded. My manager provides me with necessary tools, resources I need to do my job. So this gives you an example. We have about 20 or 30 questions, and I could spend the whole 20 minutes going through just this, but it gives you a sense of the type of questions we're asking. And then you want to make it easy for the employee to access that survey. So again, through an app or a service, through Greenius, with their training ID, they log in. That survey's right on their phone. They can do it right on their phone between job sites while they're in the truck on their travel time. So it's a really easy way to access it. But whether you use Greenius or not, just keep access to the survey as a key point to get them completed with that employee. So then you want to go over your results and look for those areas of improvements. And it's the opportunity, I call it the health check on your culture. And then whenever I say culture, again, going back to that first slide there, it's employee experience. So we're really checking in on our employees' experience to make sure it's a good one and everything is leading towards a long career with our company. So here, if you notice on the second item, this was just a quick survey I did for demonstration purposes, but here I'm satisfied with job-related training skills development offered to me, and that one scored at a 7.5. So as a manager interpreting these results, that would tell me maybe I don't have an individual development program that I thought I had. I expected a 10 from everyone on this, but it's coming in at a 7.5. So I need to do some work around IDPs. I need to do some work around a skills plan, maybe build a career training path for the employees so they can see a future. And it just gives you that kind of health check on your culture. And a lot of people you hear, oh, we have bad culture, but can you identify what's bad about it? And that's how you start fixing it. It's such a blanket statement to say we just have bad culture. But if you can say, you know what, we don't have a development program, it's easier to fix one versus the other. And then lastly, are your reviews part of a career pathway? So when I say career pathway, it's a really great retention tool if employees can see a future within an organization and progression within an organization. And I've been coaching our contractors a lot on how can you shorten the rungs on a career ladder and offer the employees kind of micro promotions or micro developments at the company. And these career pathways are the answer to that. So if you put a career pathway in place, let's say every 3 months, you got to do these 5 training courses. You got to show up 95% of the time. You're only allowed to be late once. You got to have on all your PPE and you got to work this many hours on your crew. And if they check all those boxes, maybe they get a bump in salary. And say for simple math, say your year 2 employee gets paid $19 an hour and your year 1 employee gets paid $15 an hour. Rather than waiting till that 2-year mark to give a $4 an hour raise, if you take these career pathways and make those micro promotions, and every 3 months, if you can do that $1 an hour raise, they're not going to turn over to the competition because they see this clear progression and development. And they're always just at the brink of that next kind of promotion, that next bump in pay, that next level of skill, that you got this really sticky kind of tool to engage the employees and show, hey, we're giving you a career at our company, not just a job. So the employees tend to stay longer. They're happier. They're going to say great things about your company because you're giving them a future and they can see it clearly mapped out. And research is showing companies that are doing this are seeing drastic dips in their turnover numbers, like significantly percentage points. So it's just something I really want to call out, that career pathways are a must, whether you use Greenius or not. It's just a tool that you should be utilizing. And career pathways contribute more to a more organized, efficient, and clear approach to that career development, benefiting individuals and employers. And just to bring it full circle, when the employees' development goals align with the company's objectives, you've got a winning system because the employees feel heard. They feel like their skills are being developed. They feel like they're becoming a better worker and they're moving up in the company. But while they're achieving all those individual goals, the company objectives are being met. You're seeing less damage. You're seeing less waste and rework. You're seeing less turnover. So when those two things align, you just got a formula for success.
Hey, Matt, we've got a couple good questions here in the chat that I thought we could just kind of touch on as we go here.
Yeah.
So one question was, how often should the surveys be done? And I think the reference was to the employee surveys. So how often would you recommend sending out employee surveys?
I recommend them kind of based around the seasons in a sense. So I know spring and summer, like I would say at least twice a year. So you can measure kind of how your spring and summer went, and then you can measure how your winter went, because definitely in the winter, especially if you have a lot of shovelers, your numbers grow substantially. So then you can measure kind of your winter program versus your spring summer program. Fall is kind of the cleanup year. So you could go for a year, but I'd recommend just start with 2, kind of your snow season versus your growing season. And then, because they are kind of 2 separate programs in a sense, because it's 2 different services.
Yeah, that's good advice. And so, yeah, 2 to 4 times a year, I think I would agree with that. Starting simple is great. Another question that we see here is, would you keep the survey results private or public? So I think that's a really good question. I can answer that one.
Yeah,
I
go
think
for it.
I think there's a combination of the two. In many cases, I think if the employees are doing a survey specifically about their manager, I think it's really good to use the information with that manager in a more private way to help upskill them and drive, better leadership activities. So often you're taking that information to identify gaps in your leadership so that you can upskill them. And so we don't want to publicly shame people. We want to use it as a development tool for leadership. I know myself, I get these feedbacks from my direct reports, and I'm actually quite happy to share the results. I share the results of all of my reviews that I get from my direct reports. And I actually stand in front of my direct reports and explain where the weak points are in my leadership and what I'm going to do about it. And I find by doing that, they understand that I've committed to it. So I think, a combination of a little bit private and a little bit public is healthy, because if your team is telling you that you need to be improving in maybe communication or sharing the plan each morning, going out to a job site, or sharing estimated versus actual hours, for example, depending on what your questions are, you're going to get different feedback. But once you know what those things are, maybe getting out and then committing to the team to say how you're going to address those concerns is most important. So I think it's a little bit of both. I don't think it's either private or public. It's kind of what you do with the information privately to then make a statement publicly on how you're going to drive change. And I think that's where the value really comes to light here with the employees reviewing the company or the management. I think that was it for questions right now, Matt, if you want to move on here.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add one more thing to sharing the results is like, own your mistakes and own your weak areas and address them, but also show your plan to fix it. So it's very similar to when you get a bad Google review. It's like, okay, this happened, but here's our plan to fix it, and here's how it won't happen in the future, and here's how we're going to resolve it. And people will be like, okay, you heard me, we got a plan to fix it. And they'll feel heard. And when they see that plan execute, and you can't just say the plan, you actually have to go execute the plan. But when they start seeing those plans start hitting the ground and the wheels start turning, they're just going to feel like my voice mattered and I made a difference. And frankly, they're going to be happier coming to work because they spoke up and a problem got fixed. So again, it's going to start reducing that turnover number. Great. Well, that was everything I had for today. I just wanted to talk about, or I don't know if you want to talk about this, Mark, the 2-day mastermind session.
Sure. Yeah. So we have a whole series of 2-day mastermind sessions underway right now. I think there's 5 or 6 left between now and the end of this year. And there'll be another 2 sessions per week happening around the country in January, February, and March as well. So at these sessions, I'm leading them myself. So I'm personally headed out to all of these cities to spend time with customers and prospects that are interested. And what we're really doing is building a plan for your business that really hyper focuses on growing people and growing revenue. And so we're not even opening software in these 2 days. We're just building a business plan that really allows you to kind of focus on the specific strategies that are needed to scale up on revenue and profit and then grow people. And, obviously you can't do one without the other. So we're really, really focused on doing these things in a way where you can successfully grow the business and your people all at once. And we're really kind of talking about tools and technology as a little bit of a supporting factor, as opposed to really using software during the workshop. So you actually work through a workbook. It's very peer-to-peer. We're kind of learning from each other, and we're kind of going through a process to build a business plan over 2 days. So yeah, hopefully you'll join me for one of those in the coming months. So far, they've been going over extremely well. The feedback's been good. And, the companies that have been taking part have really been leaving with a plan for the future that I think is motivating for them.
And then join us next week too as well. So we have Peter, co-founder of Oriole Landscape and Knowledge Tree Consulting, and he will be discussing and talking all about the digital portfolio and how to highlight your best landscape work on your website and social media. So a great opportunity there to maybe expand on your social media channel and hopefully start filling your funnel with more great leads.
Got a couple more questions here, Matt. One question was, would the mastermind sessions be good for the entire management staff or more for just ownership? And so we actually sell a company ticket for these events. So we kind of keep the cost super low. We're certainly not trying to make money off of these events. We're really just trying to give these as a value add to our customers and to the industry. So it's only $199 ticket price, and that's a company ticket. So that's so that you can bring your entire management team to the workshop, because we don't believe that these are owner-only workshops. We believe that anybody that's involved in creating the strategy and then executing the strategy should take part, because you're really there to build a business plan together. And I think the owner can't do that in a bubble and hope to actually succeed on the plan that we're building or the type of plan that we're building. So we really recommend that you bring a big group. We're seeing a lot of companies coming with 3 to 6 people. I think we've even had a few companies come with closer to 10 or 12, some larger companies. But these workshops are designed for everybody to kind of get involved and understand the strategic planning process, and then how to execute on that strategic plan. So the more, the better. That was a great question. One other question that came up here was, well, actually, it wasn't really a question. I think it was a point. So I'll leave that one. But yeah, great.
Great. And also, too, we have a Black Friday deal that's, I believe, live now. And we have 3 months free plus 50% off setup, more than $2,500 in savings. And you're going to get Pro Plus free for 3 months. Green is free for 2 months, plus 50% off that setup and onboarding. And that's where we help you get this organized. So you meet with our team. We help you get everything set up, get everything structured properly, basically help execute your business. So by the time you're done the onboarding process, you got both products to a really solid point where it's really helping meet your needs. So it's a really great experience to go through. And just there's the QR code for that offer as well. And that's it. So I just wanted to thank everybody for attending today. I know your time is extremely valuable, so I really do appreciate that you took some time to share it with us today.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Hopefully you got a good takeaway on the value of 360 feedback, and certainly we're here to help if we can help get that process underway with some of our tools and products. If your customers, always feel free to reach out to one of your account managers. They're there to help. They can help you get the tools set up, help you get into some education, and any of the follow-up that's needed after attending a session like this. They're really there to help you execute on the plans that we talk about in these weekly sessions. So please reach out to those account managers. They're more than happy to help show you the way. So thanks again. Appreciate everybody. Thanks for joining.
Thanks.